Do you always believe what you're told? Is there really such a thing as an astronaut? What are the reasons the government needed us to be the first to land on the moon? Today we test the believability of the moon landing conspiracy.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
So thank you for joining us on this Esquarian, that's not a word, I feel like I want to combine two words right there.
I don't know either of the words that you're trying to combine. It's a Tuesday, if you're listening to this.
It feels like a Tuesday, you know what I mean? It's like a Tuesday energy.
Oh, it is a Tuesday as well. It's a
Yeah.
Tuesday recording it, and it's a Tuesday coming out. It's
like-
still not your birthday yet.
It's like Ruby Tuesdays. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the moon landing conspiracy.
This was actually suggested to us by my parents. Now, I don't know if my mom texted you. I don't think she did.
I don't have your mom's number.
Okay. Was she not good enough to be in your contact list?
I would take her number. It's not like I don't have it, you know.
Okay, I got you. They texted me that we should cover this.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're
this
going to be
was,
excited.
Like back in October, like early October.
They're going to be like, it's not good. Tyler didn't do it.
They just turned it off.
No, actually my friend Ed told me to do this one.
Okay.
So I've been like meaning to, I actually thought about doing this one 3 or 4 episodes ago because I was like, it sounds fun. Actually, it was during October. I was like, I want to make it creepy.
Yeah. It's a big one. It's a big topic that it has very strong opinions on both sides.
Yes, I agree. It is a big topic. We're not going to talk about one of the bigger elements of it, though.
And you have a reason.
I do.
Okay. Yeah. What is that reason?
Well, I might get to it.
I got you.
It makes sense in context what I did.
Let me just say, too, that you have 100% opportunity to sway me because at different points in my life, I've believed both. But right now, I'm like a blank canvas, man. Paint me.
Okay, I'm going to do my best. So where the moon landing starts. It starts with World War II. And World War II ends, right?
Are we doing history again?
Briefly. Just
All
briefly.
Right. You got like 30 seconds.
All right, so after World War II ended, Werner von Braun comes to...
Was that the American?
He comes to America. He's a German that comes to America.
Oh, he was German. How was I supposed to know?
I don't know. It's such an American name. Oh, man. And Sergei Kowalski goes to the Soviet Union, and he heads their space program. So we've got 2 opposing space programs at the end of World War II, roughly 1945.
Got you.
In 1955, so 10 years later, Sputnik was launched, the first satellite.
That's Russian, right?
Yes.
Or is that Soviet Union during that time?
It's Soviet Union during that time, but Russian,
it's like in parentheses.
I'm going to interchange it.
You can entertain both ideas, both titles. They're both there.
So there was a lot riding on the Americans to win this space war. They needed to show that the capitalist society was better than the communist society of Soviet Russia. And there was American pride on the line, and there was also money on the line. They were just coming off the Red Scare, too, of the 50s during Sputnik.
Right.
There was a rivalry between Soviet Russia and America at that time, and it was the Cold War. It built with the space race. So, that being said, we're going to skip most of the space race because, one, it's written down and it doesn't really impact the moon landing. It builds up to the moon landing, but a lot of animals died and it's sad.
Oh, like sending monkeys and stuff up there?
It's just like a big dick measuring contest.
That's a question, though. If you had the opportunity, if you know you would die, but you got to see a sight, okay, like now there's more astronauts. If you believe in space, there's more astronauts in space, obviously, than then. But let's put it back in the 60s. I'm probably completely destroying your flow. But would you risk, and maybe anything, not just space, would you risk your life to see something that might kill you, or very likely kill you, but you get to see something that 99% of the population does not get to see?
It depends. Like, if I were to go on a spaceship and I was told to set up a colony on another planet, I would consider it. So, maybe.
Okay.
Hey, what about you?
No.
No way.
I'm not a risk taker.
So we're skipping a lot of the space race, and it's going to end in 1969.
Right.
July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11, not my dog's namesake, took Neil Armstrong.
How many dogs did you have? We don't talk about the other 10.
I know, right? Oh, man.
They don't got 9 lives.
So Apollo 11 took Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins. This is the accepted narrative.
I feel so bad about Michael Collins, dude. Nobody remembers his name.
We're gonna get to him.
It's like Buzz, Neil, and then the third guy.
Yeah.
Like, what did he drive the spaceship? What did he do?
He actually did. He was the second search result for Michael Collins.
He was the second what?
Search result?
Oh, God. He's like when you watch that, like those childhood movies, I guess, like cartoon stuff. He's like the third friend that you don't know. He's like chubby. He's got glasses. It's like
his birthday was actually Halloween. Wasn't that crazy? But yeah, he was the second search result. The first was an Irish revolutionary.
I might make him the graphic, because if we make the moon the graphic, everybody will know what it's about. If we make him, they'll be like, who's this guy? What could this possibly be about? I'm so intrigued. I'm going to listen to this episode.
That's actually really not a bad idea at all.
I don't think I'm going to do it. I want people to listen to the episode.
So the Eagle, which was the lander that landed on the moon.
That was the name of it?
It was codenamed the Eagle, yeah.
Man, I don't know anything.
I'm telling you right now. And it landed. It was manually landed by Neil Armstrong, who was the first man who walked on the moon, quote unquote. His big line was one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind.
And many attempts by monkeys.
A lot of monkeys died, especially in Russia.
Did that? Because there's that film, right, where they say, like, the moon landing is fake. They should have put at the end, a lot of monkeys died in the making of this film.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's not funny, by the way.
It was a lot of animals. A lot of animals. Dogs, too.
What were they expecting them to say, like, Houston to Fido? How's it? Shh. Yeah, it's a little cold up here. The next dog you send up here, you better put a coat on him. Bark, bark.
Yeah. Well, actually, dogs overheated.
Really?
Yeah, dogs overheated in the space capsule.
They were like, bark, bark, it's too hot.
Yes.
That's a callback.
Yes, it is. So before we really get into the conspiracy of it, we're going to talk about the pilots really quick. So Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Mr. Collins. So Neil was born August 5th, 1930.
OH!
That's right. He's from Ohio.
He's on our state quarter.
Is he really?
Yeah, if you got the state quarter, he's on it.
He died in August 25th, 2012.
In real life. But he lives on forever in our hearts.
That's true. He was a naval test pilot before he joined NASA. He studied aeronautical engineering at Purdue University.
Purdue?
Purdue?
One of them Purdue's.
Purdue University. He fought in the Korean War as a pilot. He did one mission on the Gemini project before Apollo 11. So that's his stuff. Buzz Aldrin, January 20th. He's still alive. He's like 90. He graduated from West Point in 51, and then he had a mechanical engineering degree. He served as a fighter pilot in the Korean War as well, and he flew 2 Gemini missions before the Apollo 11 mission. And then Michael Collins, there was
like a lottery for like one fan gets to join Buzz and Neil up in space. And he won.
He actually was a military man too. He was born in Rome, Italy.
Yeah.
You knew that?
No.
And so you knew that one thing?
I know.
Oh, yeah.
He probably wrote his own Wikipedia.
He's 90. He graduated from the United States Military Academy and then joined the Air Force. And then he flew 2 Gemini missions too. And those are the guys. So these guys are supposedly some of the top-notch guys in their piloting fields because they all flew planes.
I'm just saying if you put a gun to somebody's head and it was like, name the third person that went to the moon or try to fly or you die, I think people would start flapping.
I didn't know until like today.
Yeah. It's a shame actually. Like it's funny, but it is a shame because like.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, who flew in the Apollo 10 missions?
Was that Matt Damon?
No one knows those guys either.
Yeah.
And the only reason they don't know them is because they weren't televised. They came within like 9 feet of the moon. If it's real, if any of this is
and
real.
then they turned around and they're like, all right, you saw it.
It was a test mission.
They were like driving somewhere and there was like one of those attractions, like just right off the road is the moon. And then they get right up there and they're just like, it's not even that big. And then they came back.
So like I said, these people, Buzz, Neil, and Michael.
I'm more interested that this other spacecraft got 9 feet away and said, we're good.
It was a test drive. It was all for the 11 mission.
Could you imagine? That's like the ultimate tease.
It'd be like, can I go back? I want to be the famous one.
No name. Sorry.
Okay, so if any of this is real,
we'll just tell it. Like from here on until you switch that gear, tell it like it's real.
Okay, it's not real.
Oh gosh.
None of this is f***ing real.
Okay.
And here's why. We're going to talk about the things that people have unearthed, the questions people have asked to prove their points, to show why NASA, never straight answer, is behind this. And also...
Is that their nickname? NASA Never Straight Answer?
Never a straight answer. It's like the straight
never
name.
A straight... I got you. I thought that was just like a... Okay.
Like a tagline? Never straight answer.
It's an acronym. I see what you're doing.
Yes. It's not mine. What if I came up with that?
Be dope.
And why these men are covering it up. So I've got 3 questions.
For me, I didn't research.
I want you to think about it.
Okay.
If it were really true we went to the moon, then why have we not been back since the 70s?
It's a waste of money.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I don't know.
I hate you. If we were able to get there with the computing power of a calculator, then why can't we get back now in an instant? And one more question. Why are there not bases on the moon right now?
I don't know. I only have a guess.
You don't know. You don't know any of these questions.
I have a guess.
It's a waste of money.
Well, there's no resources there. Like right now, it seems like they kind of have their heart set on Mars. Don't tell Venus. But,
okay. But if we were able to get there and get set up and make a base, that would be a jumping off point.
Jumping off to what?
To Mars.
But there's no resources. It's not like a pit stop. It's not like you go there.
It would be a pit stop. We can make it a pit stop.
You can't. I mean, you
can bring the water there. You can bring the gas there. You can make it wait for them to come. And when they come, you can just...
That seems like it would take like 10 years to do that. And then just put back 10 years to go into Mars.
It's going to be a while anyway.
But do you get what I'm saying? It's like there's no, I don't want to say, well, I don't think there's any, there's no resources or life that we're trying to find. Like okay, let's pretend it's real. We went there. There was nothing there for us. It costs a lot of money to get people, ships to different places. If we've already been there and there was nothing for us to do, why go back other than just to say we went back, which is $1 billion just to tell people who already don't believe NASA photos that they went there.
So you think the mystery's solved for that?
If you already believe that we went there, like let's say that's understood. It is understood that we went there once.
Mm-hmm.
I easily believe why we don't go back. Now that's only if you believe that we were already there, which is still in question.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if it's assumed that we were there in the 60s, I have no problem believing that we didn't go back. Because there's literally no reason to spend that. I mean, we love wasting money here. Like, let's not get that wrong. We are great at wasting money. It just feels like there's no purpose to go back. Other than, because you can't prove it. Like, we've already talked about the photographs. If they go there and they photograph it, there's live streams. Like, you can go on YouTube and watch live streams of people in space stations. And people just say, that's Hollywood. Hollywood stuff. It's not real.
That is true.
So you're not going to convince anybody, and that'd be a waste of money just to convince a section of people that anyway. So that's my...
Because that's a fair point. So this first section of the proofs I have for why people think it is fake.
Okay.
It's called the problem with the pictures. So the first problem with the pictures is that hardly any, not maybe like 1 or 2, but most of the pictures of the moon from being on the moon don't have any stars in them. So there's a picture and it's just a blank sky.
Now, if you take your camera outside on your phone and you take a picture of the night sky, are you going to get any stars?
I mean...
And this is 2020.
Why are you doing this?
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yes.
I'm not going to disagree with everything you say.
Yeah.
That's just one that I'm already
You're right. You're right.
Like,
and it was 1960 technology too.
Yeah, that's like the iPhone 3. Like, that's forever ago.
I think, yeah. It's some people think the technology just wasn't there.
Right. But I just saw somebody now post on Instagram, like there's finally a phone now that you can just simply get a picture of the stars. Cause I saw somebody post it. I was like, whoa, what phone is that? Cause even my phone now, and I have like the XR, like in the lighting that we have here in Ohio, like I can't see stars when I take a picture of the night sky.
Another problem with the pictures is that the shadows are inconsistent, and they suggest that there was an artificial light cast down to make those shadows. And that's talk about it later. But that's another problem people have with the moon. There were identical backgrounds seen in different spots, suggesting that they were painted scenery, opposed to like real mountains. So this last one is about a rock in a particular photo, and there's a C carved onto this rock, like a letter C. It's not like it can't be naturally
like
formed.
Croatoan.
Yeah,
they didn't
kinda.
get the whole way.
It was just a C, and people don't understand how that can naturally be. They think it's like a studio prop faced the wrong way.
Oh, the center rock.
Yes. And lastly, who filmed Neil Armstrong as he took his first step?
I don't know. Was it? I don't even remember his name now. Was it Michael?
No, Michael was in the ship. We're gonna talk about it all at the back. We're gonna discuss all the theories. But these are, I just want to put out there what people think they are.
I have a crazy theory that I used to believe, but I don't know. I don't think it's one that is widely believed, but maybe it is. I don't want to say it yet.
Okay.
So remind me too.
All right, we'll see where at the end. Okay.
Okay.
So this part is titled "The Problem with the Moon."
The problem with the moon. It's too small.
The astronauts could, in theory, not have survived the trip because of their exposure to the Van Allen radiation belt.
Is that German too?
Van Allen? I don't think it is. I think it's an American scientist.
Okay.
And it's basically just this belt around the Earth that is ambient radiation.
Is that saying that even now astronauts couldn't go out there, or just at that time?
Even now, it's still there. And also, to go along with that, the film and the cameras would have been fogged by this radiation too. It would have destroyed the filming capabilities.
That's not hard to believe.
The Apollo 11 crew could not have survived a big solar flare when they were going out to the moon. So, they're out in space, a big solar flare happens, right?
Did it?
In theory.
You mean if it did happen?
Yeah, if it did happen.
Well, that's if a meteor crashed into Earth, people would probably die, so...
Well,
it's probably no work.
It's impossible to predict, so it seems awfully dangerous.
Yeah, but if scientists didn't predict during that time period that one happened, that's just kind of well, yeah, but... You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that one. I think it's just a danger that people think can explain away.
If a space shark was just happened to be floating by, and it was hungry...
Okay, and the last thing about the moon is that it is alleged to be a soundstage either somewhere in the desert or a completely Hollywood-made studio, and their harnesses enable the lightweight kind of jumping.
Yes.
So that's...
Do you go more into that?
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing. That's what we call under Kubrick.
Okay, I don't want to... Can I say it? Because it might...
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want it to be that's what I was going to say. I want to say it now. When I was young, I used to think, what if they filmed the moon landing at Area 51 and it has nothing to do with aliens? That's why Area 51 is so private and restricted.
That's an interesting theory. I didn't come across that specifically.
Sweet.
But...
That's my own then. I thought of that myself. 12-year-old me.
That's not bad at all.
Connecting dots.
I don't really understand a lot of the science, because this next part's called "The Problem with the Science," and I don't science.
I don't history, so I'm with you, man.
Apparently, the problem with the lunar module is that it made no...
Are you talking about the ship?
Yeah, the Eagle.
Okay. The ship.
It made no blast craters or any signs of dust.
It made no boom.
When it landed, it didn't explode out, I guess. But there are footprints there, so it's possible. But that heavy thing didn't leave any explosion.
Man, I have no footing in understanding what the surface of the moon would be like, or how a lack of atmosphere in a large ship would affect it. So I have no rebuttal. I have nothing for it or against it. It's just I can't even comprehend.
I'm kind of floundering. That makes the second stage of the launch rocket or the lunar module, neither of them made visible flames. The lunar module weighed 17 tons and made no mark, like we just talked about, on the moon surface.
Maybe Michael is just badass at landing.
The air conditioning units that were part of the astronauts' space suits could not have worked in the environment.
They were window units. Let's open up for some fresh air.
Well, do you remember the dogs overheated and died? That's why they needed that kind of thing.
Yeah. Imagine the brand. How many years after that event do you think they were like, yeah, you too can have a space-approved air conditioning unit for $69.95?
Lastly, the last thing before we get into the Kubrick thing. There are missing tapes. That is fact. There are missing tapes from NASA. They cannot find the tapes of the actual moon landing. There are 45 tapes in total, and there are 15 tapes that are recorded over from the Apollo 11 mission.
It's just Seinfeld reruns.
I think they recorded with boring stuff like solar eclipse or whatever.
Probably.
Those are the big theories that, honestly, when I was researching through, I was like, that's a good point. I don't know. That's a good point. You're a big fan of The Shining, right?
I do like The Shining. Yeah.
Supposedly, Stanley Kubrick, the man who did The Shining, basically...
Well, Stephen King did The Shining.
Well,
you're talking about the film.
I'm talking about the film. I'm talking about the film.
Director.
Yes, you are absolutely 100% right on that. But the person who filmed it wrote his love letter to his greatest achievement, the filmed moon landing, that he was paid to film, and he gave the hints in The Shining.
See, I've heard this theory, but I've never looked into it. But I know what you're talking about. And it's funny because apparently Stephen King just absolutely hates.
He does not like The Shining.
Yeah. Well, that one. I think there was a second one.
That he, directed, have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen every Shining, but Stanley Kubrick was the one with Jack Nicholson, though, right?
Yeah, that's the world famous one. All right, so here are the reasons why people think there are nods to the moon landing and why Kubrick was involved.
Okay.
The manager who meets with Jack to hire him for the Overlook Hotel, he has an American flag on his desk. And on that table, next to the flag, is an eagle. And they think that's a nod to the Eagle lunar module.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, remember you're like, I didn't know that was called an eagle.
Yeah, just, overtly, it seems very patriotic, but you're saying...
It does, but also...
Well, I guess not subliminally. Okay, never mind, go ahead.
It's symbolic of the eagle.
Yeah, that's the S word I was looking for.
Okay, so in the book, by Stephen King, there was a single dead child in the hall. You know, he's riding the bike.
Instead of the twins.
Instead of the twins, there's only one kid. And it's believed that...
Stanley Kubrick was like, it could be twice as scary if...
Yes, but also, the people that think this is a nod think that this is a reference to the failed Gemini project. Remember I referenced how Neil and all of them basically were pilots for the Gemini projects?
Yeah.
They think that the twins are a reference to the Gemini projects before the Apollo projects.
Or, more believably, Stanley Kubrick just forgot about Michael. and they represent Buzz and Neil.
That's pretty good. All right, so there is an overhead shot of Danny playing in the corridor, and you see the pattern on the carpet. Conspiracy theorists believe that this looks strikingly similar to the Apollo 11 launch pad.
Oh, interesting.
The design of the carpet, that famous design.
Yeah, I don't have a great visual of it, and I can't pull into my brain the launching of it, so this is hard for me. Mm-hmm. I can't speak on it, but that is interesting.
Yes, and so when Danny stands up from that carpet, he's seen wearing a sweater. And do you know what that sweater is? I know you're a big fan, but...
No, red? I don't know.
It is actually a spaceship with Apollo 11 written on it.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's kind of in your face.
It seems a little much, doesn't it? So, okay, this one's interesting. They're all interesting, I think. So Danny enters the dreaded room 237, and in the book, the room number was 217. But it's widely believed that Kubrick changed it to 237 because that's the distance measured from Earth to the moon.
In kilometers or miles?
Miles.
Man.
I'm sorry, 237,000 miles. Not just 230. It's not 237 miles away.
I got you. That would be like, not even, that's like the next state over. There's people that point out things in the film that it's almost like Stanley Kubrick did this just to piss off Stephen King. And I don't know enough about those, so I have no rebuttal to these facts and say, oh, well, maybe he changed it to get at Stephen King about this. I just know there are people out there that know that. Like there's like the color of a car. It's stupid speaking on it without knowing it. But there's like, he changed the color of a certain car in the movie, and they were like, he did it to take a stab at Stephen King about so-and-so. I don't know enough about it, but it would be interesting to compare and contrast those with these. But I still think these hold weight. These are still interesting. I wonder
if there is any overlap like that.
I don't know. That's one thing. If I knew, I would be able to look for, but I don't.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just sit here and shut my mouth.
And this is the last one. So Jack's wife discovers that when he's writing, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. while it's a long shot conspiracy, this one's like admitted it's like far-fetched. They believe that all in that sentence actually signifies A11 or Apollo 11. Yeah, admittedly, it's a little far-fetched.
I always hated that phrase didn't rhyme. It felt like it should be a rhyming, like a phrase. But it doesn't.
That sentence?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Those are all the references that Kubrick supposedly put in The Shining to say, I did Apollo 11.
Gotcha. Well, let's just ask Stephen King if he likes the filming of the moon landing. If he's like, I hate it. I mean, that helps.
There's actually, I heard this joke. The only way they would have actually gotten Kubrick to agree to film the moon landing was if they actually gone to the moon, because he's so realistic.
It actually is like, it kind of folds in on itself. Yeah. It's like, that kind of makes the conspiracy true, in a true, it actually happened way, which is funny and ironic.
So those are all my theories. So we're going to move on to the discussion now.
All right.
So, I know that's a lot of stuff, but are you ready to talk about the intricacies of the moon landing?
Yes.
Yes. This is going to be the juicy part, I think.
This is one of those, like, there's a lot of topics, paranormal topics we'll talk about that I'm very comfortable in not knowing about and in enjoying learning about them on the podcast from you and through my own research sometimes when I present. This is actually one conspiracy theory that I regrettably don't know enough about. Like, I feel like I should have a harsh stance, and I feel like I should have it researched and backed up. This is one I don't like that I don't have a stance on.
I know what you mean. When I was researching, I told you this earlier, I try to come at this with the approach of I know nothing. I want to learn from why it's fake.
The YouTube experts. Teach me, YouTube experts.
My father is a chemical engineer.
You got those valence electrons all excited.
And I know it's just some of this by proxy. Like I said, I'm not good at science. I'm not my father.
History and science and math.
But anyway, my point being is that I actually feel pretty confident talking about this subject.
Okay, good, because I don't.
Okay.
I like I said, for a long time I thought that's what Area 51 was.
I think that's an interesting guess, honestly.
Yeah, but it's like I also believe that aliens could be there too. It's just kind of like it fits the terrain of the moon from what we've seen with, I guess, that desert area.
Yeah.
And before we go into this, let me preface with my own biases. There was like a turning point in my life, and I can't pinpoint it. It's no one person's specific fault. I can't draw a certain line to where this happened. I used to be a conspiracy theorist. And then it got to the point, and I still believe in certain conspiracies. You guys know, you've heard. But it got to the point where conspiracy theories, maybe I attribute it to flat earth. Maybe that's why that one's like sticks with me so hard. But there's like a certain amount of arrogance to me with certain conspiracies that now I almost find myself fighting believing a conspiracy, which isn't fair and it's not a ton of fun. And I'm not saying everything in our history books, everything in our science books is true. And I'm not saying the narrative we're fed in the United States or, certain parts of the world is true. I'm just saying sometimes conspiracy theorists that just go on YouTube and they think that equals somebody who dedicates their life. I've already talked about this. I think
we talked about it.
Was it 9/11? Yeah, I've already talked about this. I'm just saying I have my own personal biases against just jumping on a conspiracy theory and being like, yeah, we didn't go to the moon. Because a large portion of my life, I believe we did not go to the moon. And I'm not saying I believe we did now. There's just a part of me that's saying, who am I to say we definitely didn't? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's pretend this for a second. How disrespectful is it to Buzz, Neil, and Michael for somebody who only goes on Wikipedia, only goes on YouTube to say, nah, you actually didn't do this because I watched an 8-minute YouTube video that says you didn't.
Buzz recently clocked someone in the face.
Yeah, I mean, but could you imagine if you risked your life for that and you went there and you experienced it, and then you have people saying it's not true because of whatever? You know what I mean? Like, it's fun to talk about, but there's like this, it's like the shooting the shit around the water cooler and then turning that into real life. And I think there's like a breaking point. Sorry, this is a major tangent. I'm just trying to put you in my mindset going into this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think, so for me, it's fun to believe in the big ones, but I think the real conspiracy theories are the ones around, like, inside dealings. I think those are the ones that make more sense to me.
Like where somebody has massively to benefit. Like the whole 9/11 inside job thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And that's probably the most believable thing to me, as we'll get into, I imagine, with the moon landing, is that it was a national competition.
Yes.
That's where I'm like, yeah, you know what?
There was a reason for it. And okay, so let's move on.
Yeah.
The first thing you talked about, I'm going to actually put that right here. So I agree with you. The stars shouldn't show up. In reality, they really shouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Like the phone I have right now, if I take a picture outside, the stars will not show up. And we have an atmosphere.
No, you could argue light pollution, though. There's no light pollution besides the sun out on the moon. So you could argue that maybe if you're facing away from the sun, I mean, I don't know.
But that's the biggest thing. There is that light pollution of the sun. That's what causes that.
Yeah.
That's why that's there. That's why it's like that.
When you're in space with a naked eye, do you think you can see stars, or do you think the sun makes it so bright?
You can see stars.
Even with the sun in space?
They said they did. I read that.
Okay.
So it's up to you if you believe them. But I think so.
We'll see.
So the angles of the shadow, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
So they're implying that it's like studio lights that are making different angles.
Yeah.
Actually, I know the answer to this one. It's the sun coming down, and it's also the landing module had lights on it too.
Yeah.
So that's why there's two different shadows like crisscrossing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why.
Makes sense.
That also answers the last question too, of who is filming Neil. There was a camera on top of the lunar module.
Oh, okay.
So it was able to see him go.
Man, I would actually, I don't know if it exists. That footage of it actually breaking out of the atmosphere would be really dope.
The lunar module?
Mm-hmm. Is that
like from the camera?
Yeah.
I don't know if that exists, actually.
They had the camera,
It might not have been filmed.
They had the cover on the lens. When they got it, they go, oh, crap.
It might not have been filmed.
We're going to have to do this again.
Oh, let's talk about that rock. Remember that rock?
With the C on it?
Yeah, Croatoan, but just the C part.
Center stage rock.
Yeah.
Your big moment's coming up. He's about to step out of it.
So this is one, I'm like, that's weird. So the explanation for that is when they were printing the photos, it was just an error from the printing, and it was just happened to be on that rock. And it's just like, oh, that's sketch though, isn't it?
If you believe that it was filmed on Earth and it's a Hollywood production, then this absolutely fits into your already preconceived notion.
It totally does, with the lights too.
On its own, it doesn't feel like it holds a lot of weight, whereas if you already believe that to be true, it seems like it's just another notch on that belt.
Yeah.
This is why it's fake.
But to me, it's a little, I know, it probably is just a printing error, but it just feels a little sketch.
Even if it's, I'm joking about it being center. Why do you think there'd be a C?
I don't know. I don't know why it would be there.
I've never been on a legitimate film set, so maybe somebody who has would be able to answer that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could stand for something like, maybe that's a good guess, center, but it could be anything. So let's talk about some of the moon stuff. You talked about the flag, right?
Yeah, and how it was waving.
Yeah. There's a really simple explanation for that one. So the flag, because there's no wind on the moon.
Yeah.
It would have just drooped down.
Mm-hmm.
And because of what they did to make sure it didn't do that, they put a metal bar. It's like a thin
just at the top of it.
Yeah. And Buzz and Neil had actually bent it on accident.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's waving.
Well, let's see. Then an asteroid flew by in the ripple effect. Made it
yeah, right.
Patriotic asteroid.
I know. It actually saluted too. It was like,
yes. Who's that third guy?
The astronauts could have not survived the trip because of the Van Allen radiation belt. Right. The Van Allen radiation belt. From what I remember, the Van Allen radiation belt is there, but it's actually not that strong. Like, you get more radiation on Earth than you do in the belt.
It's like standing in front of a microwave waiting for your food to cook.
Yeah, so
it's really just cooking your brains.
It's not that bad. I don't know why the film wasn't followed by the radiation belt. Probably the same reason. Probably wasn't that bad.
Where do they say this radiation belt is? Like, is the moon in it?
No, it's not in it. It's like on the way to it. It's like, it's just before the atmosphere turns into
Space?
Yeah.
So then why would it affect what's being recorded on the moon?
Because it would have destroyed all the film before they got
Oh, okay. So it's not... I got you. It's not like they're filming in it. It's to break through it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it would have, like, basically already, like, semi-processed it. You know, like, old film back then, you had to process it. So basically, if it's a soundstage and Kubrick did it, it is what it is. And all these theories kind of feed into that one big theory that it was filmed on a soundstage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is the hard part. Like, the problem with the science, I don't know a lot of this stuff. What I read, the lunar modules didn't make, like, a big crater. It's the same reason why they're able to float so high. It's because of the low gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't... It was able to like, float down there gently.
Man, this is just stuff so far out of my comprehension. Because it's like, if this was never discussed, if space was never discussed, the idea of somebody actually traveling out there does feel unbelievable.
It does sound crazy, right?
Like, it feels nuts. Like, just literally leaving the atmosphere and being able to fly and steer a spaceship into nothingness space. It feels like so much could go wrong.
It does. I think that just really explains why Neil said the thing he did about the one giant leap for mankind. They put so much faith into it. But also think about this, sailing across the sea for the first time and not knowing what you're going to find.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people thought you'd fall off.
Yeah, just there have been brave acts in humankind for a long time.
Yeah, and it's not so much the leap of faith. It's just the way, like, it's hard to comprehend something you've never experienced.
Yeah.
And, like, to imagine going out into space and landing and anything like that, just, it feels crazy to me, even though I do genuinely typically buy into it.
Like, imagine being the first person to jump out of a plane with a parachute.
Oh, God. Nope.
Like, I hope this works. Like, physically it makes sense, but it's so scary.
Yeah. I don't live for that kind of adrenaline rush.
Alright. The missing taste is true, though. Do you put more stock in the science, or do you buy into needing to win that Cold War so bad they faked it?
That's the strongest component for me. Like, the science of the flag and the stars and the way they landed the ship. That's all stuff that I feel like I can't speak on. Because I hate from my perspective, what I see with my own eyes thing. Because it's just, that feels disrespectful to people that have been there. And I already did that tangent. I'm not going to do it again. What I don't have a hard time believing, because the same thing you said, where you're talking about conspiracy theories and you're more likely to believe an inside job type thing. I absolutely believe that our government would fake something like that to put our country as more elite than Soviet Union, Russia.
And think about this. The person who was the president is a known liar.
Yeah.
He was going to be thrown out of office because of lying. Reagan.
Right.
And that's so the need is there. Like, during the space race, like, it was built up in such a way where it's just like, we needed the win.
But here's the thing though. The fake moon landing feels tied into the other theory that we couldn't go to the moon. Now, when they say, like you were like, okay, how come they haven't gone back to the moon?
Yeah.
If we didn't go then, why wouldn't we go now? Unless we know it would be so strikingly different from what we saw in the 60s.
I follow.
There's many different angles. It almost feels like if we didn't go then, it would be assumed that we cannot go. I feel like we're advanced enough that we could go. So then you might ask, well, why don't they just go then? I would say, because there's no reason. We've already been there. There's no resources. There's nothing special about it anymore. But if you're still a conspiracy theorist, you might say, well, if they do go and they capture footage, it will defiantly prove that the footage from the 60s is fake because it will look so different.
That is a hell of a point, honestly.
So maybe they're afraid to go, even though we can now, because they know it would look... But then at what point do you go, prove it, and say, our bad? How many decades have to pass before you can say this was fake?
I'd say at least a century. I think we couldn't go at least until the summer of 2049.
Yeah.
Man, that's ooh. I never thought of that. That's a really good thought.
It feels like, I think one of the tough things about believing the conspiracy is it takes away such a huge human moment. So we actually just looked it up. Charlie's looked it up on his phone, and there is footage of was that China?
China.
So
China.
I was about to kill my last theory because I'm like, well, wait, other countries went, therefore that would disprove what I just said. But we can both agree it looks very similar.
Yes.
To the United States footage.
It doesn't.
No stars, so apparently they didn't go either.
That's right. Kubrick.
Here's the thing. When it comes to conspiracy theory, it comes to the point where I'm like, what's the benefit of a huge cover-up? I always like to ask, what's the benefit? Because there's one theory that it feels like it should not be a conspiracy theory, but climate change. Like, it's kind of like, and I will not go off on a big tangent here unless I do.
All right, we'll see.
Even if you don't believe that we are necessarily leading to climate change, it's not a bad thing to want to recycle or do renewable resources. You know what I mean? Like, even if you don't believe we're leading to a bad future, you would just think naturally you'd want to have a cleaner Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, for the people that are adamant that global warming isn't real and climate change isn't real, it's like, even if it's not, what's the harm in doing this instead? Besides, your life gets a little bit more inconvenient. Anyways, but like, I can't do that with this one because the why would they fake it is so easily answered by the competition, which
absolutely.
I so believe that we would do. So it's like it's like my distrust in the government is fighting with my desire for science and a great human monumental moment to be true.
I know, it's enough to implant that maybe, you know? At least for me. I'd like to hear from you. What do you think it is? Like, what do you give it?
Oh, my rating?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, dude, when they went there could have been a solar flare. So unbelievable.
Could have been.
Or I guess, how are you posing the question? Is believable means they went, or believable means they did not go?
Believable.
Are we believing the conspiracy or believing that they did go?
We're going to believe the conspiracy. So believable is they didn't go.
Okay, so believable is they did not go.
Yes.
And unbelievable means I believe they did land on the moon.
Yes.
Skeptical. So I'm leaning towards they did go, but I'm not all the way there. Please don't find me and punch me, Buzz.
I hate doing it because I don't know 100%, but I think it's unbelievable. I think we went 100%.
You think we went?
Yeah.
If you would have asked me this exact question like 10 years ago, I easily would have said believable.
Really?
Yeah, like
That's
I said, I thought they filmed it at Area 51.
I didn't know you 10 years ago, so I mean, that's interesting.
You did.
What the What? Really?
You knew me 10 years ago.
It's been 10 years?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Actually, like a couple months ago, it's been 10 years.
Oh, anniversary.
I'm surprised Facebook didn't let you know.
Oh, wow. It's interesting that you've grown.
But this is a conspiracy that I don't want to say condemn. That's not right. This is a conspiracy where if somebody doesn't believe it and thinks that we didn't go, I have no problem. Like, I think a good, healthy conversation can be had where nobody gets heated. I think it's just kind of, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is one where I can totally understand where you're coming from. Because the government being like, we have to be the first ones, get Stanley Kubrick on the phone.
There's strong points on both sides.
Yes. I mean, because I was in 8th grade when we watched that film that broke it down. Where you know what I'm talking about, the film that we didn't go to the moon.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the thing's waving. Wasn't there like something about reflection on the glass of like there was something about light. It was part of the lighting, I think.
Yeah.
But like all that stuff, and I was in 8th grade and I was like, whoa, we didn't go.
Your mind blew up.
Yeah. I do believe that if we didn't go, that there's no reason to go back though. If you don't believe that we went to the moon, do you believe that there's a space station right now? Because you can see that. I mean, unless you believe it's a satellite, but you can see if you believe in satellites. But if you look, like, I have an app that follows it. And when I was in Arizona last year in October, I was outside and I saw it. My phone tracked it. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw the space station go across the sky. Is that unbelievable if you believe we didn't go to the moon?
I think if you don't believe we didn't go to the moon, I think you don't think that's real.
Unless you think that it's just the time period. You could believe in NASA, you can believe in space exploration. This would be me. If I found this believable. If I found the conspiracy believable, I would be the person that would say, I think we can go to the moon. We have been in space. We do have a space station. But at that time in the 60s, we didn't have the technology for it. We faked it to win a competition. That would be my angle if I was believable in the conspiracy. I don't think it's all or nothing. I don't think there's no such thing as space. We didn't go out there. We can't go out there. Never happened. I would say that it would be kind of like we couldn't do it then, but I think we can do it now.
I think that's the strongest angle on that approach.
Still not mine. I'm so skeptical.
I'm still unbelievable. Thank you for listening to our moon landing conspiracy episode. This was a lot of fun to research because it is such a big topic. Man, I'm like almost swayed the other way.
I'm really glad you tackled this topic because this is one that I love debating and talking about. I don't know if I would have loved the research on it, but at the same time, like I said earlier, this is one I wish I knew more about.
It is big. It is a big thing, especially if you include all the stuff from the space race that is even more compelling about why we would fake it.
Yes.
Because I just want to skip over because it's a lot of dead animals and it's really sad.
It is. You know what? It is sad. I was about to say it doesn't matter, but it's a lot of dead animals.
It's true. Like over hundreds. Thousands. Millions.
Another thing that I don't think we'll ever know. And anybody, if it's fake, I don't think anybody...
I think we'll know one day. I think one day we'll get past where we can like fly to Mars in like a day.
In a day.
I don't know. If you take light speed into account, in theory, it takes 8 seconds to get to Mars.
Wow.
If we can ever get to light speed, I don't know.
You think we could ever get there in like 4 seconds?
Faster than light? No, I don't think so.
Okay, here's a question I didn't think about until just now, and I know this is the post discussion, but
is it?
If you guys are still listening, maybe you're still along for the ride. What about the flag that they planted?
What about it?
Can you see it?
From what? Like Earth?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did they land on the dark side of the moon?
No, it was on the light side.
So wouldn't you argue
like
that
people can like point out where it was? It's crazy. I don't
You
know.
can point it out where it was, but you can't find the flag?
They might be able to. I didn't say no.
If somebody can find the flag, I think that's proof that they win. Right?
I agree.
So I don't think people can find the flag.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I didn't look into that.
That's interesting. That should be left over unless they planned it and they took it and they were like, well, that's a really
nice... They definitely left it.
Then you should be able to see it because I don't think they landed on the dark side.
I'm going to have to do some Googling.
Maybe this is believable. Maybe this is fake. Do you think there's a flag in Area 51?
I guarantee there's a flag. It's a military base.
Oh my god, dude. I think it's believable now. I might flip. We might have to do like a part 2.
I'm going to punch you in the face.
A couple of things I want to say. First of all, from the bottom of my heart, I had a $500 fraud withdrawal mid-episode. Good luck to anybody. If you can find when my tone shifts,
I bet you can find it pretty easy.
There's like a 30-minute gap in between, but there's a point in this episode where I found out that $500 was deducted from my account. So that was fun. 2, but even deeper from the bottom, even the more bottom of my heart,
the lowest point.
I really want to thank everybody because I was just thinking about this the other day because we always say thank you for the engagement, thank you for the follows, but we really do make a point to reach out to most people. And Charlie and I both being shyer, not the most, I don't want to say introvert, but we're not
the most outgoing people.
Social. We're not the most social people.
Yeah.
The kindness that is received on our end from you guys when we do reach out is just mind blowing. Not that we think you guys wouldn't be kind, but it's just the responses we get are very heartfelt for me. Like, I'm not saying this in a good way. This is me off script. It warms my heart to see some of the messages we get because you guys are so kind about us because we're literally, if you follow us, we're an account just hitting you up. You can say F off.
Yeah.
Which we had one person do.
1 out of thousands, and that's crazy.
Yeah. So sincerely, we just really appreciate how kind and genuine everybody is with us, and to get those messages really does mean a lot.
And I'm emotionally crippled And if I wasn't, I could express that in a similar kind of way, but I can't.
You just say ditto.
Yeah, sames.
Second thing, maybe this is a third. I think the bank account was one. So third thing, and this is, I was actually going to mention this at the top of the show, but I feel like I want this episode to be able to exist on its own. If I started the episode referring to a previous episode, I feel like that doesn't let it stand on its own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would take something.
Because every time you would start this episode, it would be, and you couldn't just start with this one. It would always be referring to a previous episode.
Right.
Which it still is, but it's just not starting with it. Technically, the episode's over. You're just here. This is bonus content, y'all. I still feel very weird about the Jersey Devil episode. And we had a little bit of a discussion about it afterwards. Because it felt like such a huge topic and then such a letdown of an episode. For me, personally. Like, I think there's entertaining. Our number one job is to entertain. We're not trying to sway you with these topics. We're not trying to necessarily teach you stuff you don't already know, especially on the big topics. But while I do find it entertaining, there's a certain level or a certain substance that was missing for me with the Jersey Devil episode. And I think when I was talking to you, it kind of landed for me. With Mothman, it has the bridge collapsing. That's the story. You hear that story and you grasp onto it, and everything else is kind of extra stuff.
Yeah, icing.
The Fresno Nightcrawlers. You have the Jose story where he saw it walk across his lawn, and the Yosemite, and then everything else is kind of hearsay. I felt like I did the Jersey Devil episode, and it never had that one concrete, okay, some of this stuff is really sketchy, but here's the one story. Like, I know you like the Bonaparte, and the 1909 sightings are the biggest. It felt lacking to me, and I don't know how to deal with that.
I think that's fair, honestly. I think it is missing because the bigger stories are so long ago.
Yes, but they just don't.
Okay, here's the thing. Lots of people saw Mothman on the day of the bridge. Jose recorded a video of the walkers. There's nothing like that with Jersey Devil.
Right. Then, like I said, the 1909 sightings are probably the biggest because it had the biggest expansion, the trolley car and all that stuff. I don't think that I have a perfect way to explain what I'm feeling. Maybe one day I will, or eventually in another episode I'll come back to this. I mentioned it a little bit at the end of that episode, and I'm still feeling it. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Either hit us up in the DMs or maybe in the most recent post of whenever this comes out, let us know. I don't feel like it was presented poorly, and I don't feel like the research wasn't done. It just felt, maybe just the legend, like I said, the legend's greater than the narrative. I
think that's really the point. I think that's really what it is.
There's just an empty feeling. And I know there's listeners out there that are from the Jersey area, so maybe there's just something off the mark. So I'm very interested. Like I said, we're recording this the Tuesday before, so we haven't gotten all the feedback yet from that episode. So maybe this will be kind of null and void by the time this comes out. That's just where I'm feeling, and I'm
still interested to hear what people say, though.
Oh yeah, because we don't know at this point. Yeah. It literally launched this morning, so there's still a lot of information we have to gather. So, like I said, this might not be relevant, but this is the end of the episode. I feel like we can go off a little bit here.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on our adventure for the moon. I think it was a lot of fun, and thank you again for leaving those reviews. The last couple, they made Tyler cry. I mean, low key, it's fine, but.
I didn't, but they did mean a lot.
That's what he says.
If I ever cried in real life, I would have cried then.
But they really do mean so much to us. Like, more than we probably are expressing. Thank you.
Yes, it really does mean a lot. So thank you, and as always, I'm Tyler.
I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
A podcast as bizarre as you are.